any kind of adventure that ever comes up. If I'm invited, I go.
I'm expecting it to be more mentally tough than physically.
I'm looking forward to it, actually, sort of getting back to basics.
Within the first week, everyone's hands are going to be cut and bleeding and building calluses, and it's going to hurt.
I've always had a fantasy about sailing in tall ships.
We do want to try and sail this ship exactly as she would have been sailed, say, over 200 years ago. We want to try and measure ourselves against Captain Cook and his crew.
It's not a reality TV show because it's much more historically based. What we're doing is basically putting 21st century people into an 18th century situation.
I think there are about 6 of us on the whole crew that haven't really done any sailing before.
I know we're planning to do a 18th century sailor's diet.
Right, well, this is the space we're going to live in, about 50 of us, 6 weeks, living, eating and sleeping.
Given the order for the execution.
I don't know if anything in our whole lives has ever tasted this good. Cheers.
Here. Good friends.
The line race. Fighting, kicking, scratching is all allowed. Go the other way. I know he's been a few weeks, but real.
Terrible fear fights all my life. This is huge for me.
We write about these things, we read them, but we don't experience history. We don't really feel, smell it, taste it.
This is the story of a ship and a story of 2 adventures. One is happening now, the other more than 200 years ago. A secret voyage that altered the course of history and changed the face of the world. This is a voyage through history, reliving James Cook's epic 18th century journey of discovery in the South Pacific. There are nearly 50 modern-day adventurers crammed into an 18th century sailing ship. This 21st century endeavor has now been at sea for 5 weeks, and it's been tough. The crew has been battered by the sheer physical demand on their bodies, and a toll has been taken on their emotions.
You are actually sitting on the most safest place in the world right now.
Right now, everyone is missing home, missing family, missing friends.
It's quite hard because you've got so much time to think, and your whole life runs through your mind, all about boyfriends and you know, everything.
Yeah, you've definitely got a lot of time to sort of think and reminisce.
That's the wife and the kids, don't laugh. He's won, and he's going to prop for England. And so that's my daughter Georgia. She probably will prop for England. That's my wife, who I think she already has prop for England, but I'm not sure.
I think everyone misses their family. I certainly miss mine. That's the hardest moment I've had since you just asked me that question. But I miss my kids.
And after nearly 6 weeks of salt meat, ship's biscuits, and porridge, everyone is also yearning for fresh food.
Something major is going on over there.
It's a vast school of dolphin on a feeding frenzy, probably after tuna. Everyone on board wants a taste of what the dolphin are after. The 21st century motor launch is the only way to catch them. Right now, the Endeavour is in the middle of the Timor Sea, having set sail from Cairns in northeast Australia 36 days ago. She's heading for Jakarta in Indonesia, a total distance of 3,500 miles. When Cook got here, he'd been away from home not 5 weeks, but 2.5 years, voyaging into totally uncharted waters, and constantly facing the prospect of shipwreck. In fact, the Admiralty back in England already believed his ship, the Endeavour, had been lost with all hands.
Straight on
about.
Hey, we're going to get the lines out early.
This one's first.
And if we don't catch anything now, our reputation as fishermen are going to be fucked.
Damn, look at that. Jesus.
The dolphins prove to be too fast, and so do the tuna. The fishing party returns to the ship with nothing but frustration.
And the captain was nice enough to say, get to it. After I guaranteed him 98% that we catch one. I'm going to have to eat a lot of crow.
Not crow, but salted pork. Although there's not much actual meat left anymore. Most of it is now just fat and gristle.
You just set this stew up, turn it on, and it cooks itself.
It's just fatty, isn't it? It's not very appetizing. And we've got this to look forward to cold this evening. It's just going to be lava.
It'll be all congealed.
The only fresh meat that the sailors were really had access to on cook ships were rats, fresh rats. They used to catch them, feed them on biscuits and cheese, so they sort of cleanse them out, I guess, and then kill them, grill them, and eat them. And roast rat was good, and apparently it tasted like rabbit, but it's not on my menu, no way. If it was, it'd be someone else cooking.
Of course, there is some fresh meat aboard.
Chickens, they're not going to be around much longer. We're going to get rid of them, but it's going to be a secret. So, yeah.
People going to be upset?
I think some people might be, so we'll just do it quietly, without ceremony, one morning very early before people are up.
They're saying, eat me, eat me. I can almost taste the curry now.
At least this crew's not threatened by scurvy, the illness brought on by vitamin C deficiency that plagued Cook and his men.
Oh, it is now.
The basic symptom of scurvy is the breakdown of the cell structure of the body. One of the things that was always noted in extreme cases of scurvy was that old wounds would begin to open, scar tissue would disintegrate, and old bone fractures would unknit. Men having to cut off the excess flesh on their gums with their knives, and that it didn't hurt because the flesh was in effect dead. Scurvy was also a mental condition called scorbutic nostalgia, which consisted of people having dreams. It usually start with dreams, very intense, vivid dreams of home, of land, of green fields, of running water, and sometimes of food. And that what would happen when the victim woke up and discovered that they were still at sea eating a salt diet was that they would start crying uncontrollably. Even strong, hard-bitten seamen crying hopelessly for what they longed for.
It is a time of homesickness aboard Endeavour. Weeks at sea through difficult times.
I had a vivid dream the other night that I was like in a real bathtub, taking a real bath with hot water and bubbles and all that.
Missing home is part of life at sea. Joseph Banks, the botanist on board the original Endeavour, noticed this among the crew.
The greatest part of our company are now pretty far gone with the longing for home, which the physicians have gone so far as to esteem a disease under the name of nostalgia. Indeed, I find hardly anybody on the ship clear of its effects.
I was in a supermarket and I was filling up my trolley, really, really pleased that I could afford all this amazing food. There's chocolate bars and cakes, everything was going in.
So I'm in some sort of hotel or something with one of my friends. We're really gorging ourselves on the buffet. It seems to be laid out for no good reasons, no one else there.
It's nothing but pleasure. Soft sheets. Oh, this is the clean bed one. Pillows. Chocolates on the pillow. Basket of fruit. It was a lovely dream.
But significantly, not all the dreams are about food.
The ship was overtaken by some kind of terrorists or something. I don't really know who they were, but they pretty much decided they were going to kill all the Americans. So, being the heroic type that I am, I told them I was Canadian. And Joel, who is Canadian, protested very loudly that I was, in fact, not Canadian. And so they shot him. And that was the end of that dream. You may have been hoping for thoughts of chocolate cake, but no luck. Just carnage.
The September 11th attacks had happened just 2 weeks before. It is a moment still imprinted on everyone's mind, but one that sometimes seems far away from the routine of life at sea.
Okie dokie. So what do you want to do first then, good buddy? Do you want to paint the front of the cannon and then scrub the deck, or scrub the deck and then paint the front of the cannon? Now we're talking executive decisions here. And we have to Riggers black this ring. Cup of tea? Cup of tea. Stand easy. Stand easy. Cup of tea. This is a great Royal Navy tradition that these gentlemen have been fine enough to expose me to, which is that you don't actually do anything. You just talk about stuff and then you go have a cup of tea. Don't make it too strong. I don't like it too strong.
Luckily enough, it's not that strong.
Oh, that's ideal.
There you go, mate.
That's a tin of milk.
Cup of tea.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Ooh, too much sugar.
Cup of tea, sir?
Thank you, Mickey. You can see Mickey's a bit weak in the tea department, but we have a ration to uphold. Thanks, Mick. Best cup of tea I've ever had.
That's it. Pull it, take it off.
Ready? One more climb. 4 miles one.
When the wind picks up, the fun and games are temporarily blown away. Those on watch must scale the masts to wrestle the giant sails. On Cook's ship, those who worked at height were the ones with real status. They spent much of their time on the shrouds and yardarms and were actually called topmen, unlike those who worked on the deck, known as the wasters. For this crew, too, working at height, 130 feet above a rolling ocean, has become a matter of some considerable personal pride.
6 weeks ago, we all sort of hung back, hoping they wouldn't select us to come up here, and we just charged up here, saying, because we've got really used to it now. You feel safe up here. We know what we're doing. Well, it looks like we know what we're doing anyway.
It is one of the best places on board. Because coming up aloft it hasn't really challenged us, but people like Sharon, who I've got like a lot of respect for conquering our fears, where she's been terrified of heights at the start, and now she's up here jumping around the same as me.
Certainly with going up to Gallant, I certainly couldn't go up if it wasn't for these guys who have been really supportive and sort of encouraged me all the way, which is brilliant.
Okay, keep the arms.
Yep.
Nice and straight.
But not everyone feels comfortable on the rigging.
Almost there.
JB is still trying to conquer a lifelong fear of heights.
Okay. Almost there. There we go.
The face of fear.
Everybody is willing him up to the first yardarm of the mainmast. At about 40 feet high, it's the lowest of the yardarms. But for JB, this is a huge challenge.
Go on, JB.
The highest she's got up there.
Doing really well, JB.
Just enough room for your left foot along the side.
Okay.
If you want to do that. I would leave that on there right
Really?
now.
Okay.
Yes.
You like that? All right, go in there. All right, as soon as you can. Okay. Back to your D ring. On your right hip there.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't mean to look down though.
Honestly, it's fine. It's fine. Look, you've only got that.
Okay, when you get that bolt rope from Phil, tuck it on top of the yard under your tummy, pinch it in there with your tummy.
So proud of you.
So you've always been afraid of heights, JB?
Terrible fear of heights all my life. I've never done anything like this, obviously, because of my fear of heights.
This is a real accomplishment.
Yeah, this is big. This for me. This is huge for me. Very proud, and these guys are proud of me too. So I'm mad. This is my watch. So I'm relieved.
But JB is only a third of the way up. He's already wondering whether, on another day, he might be able to go even higher. To reach Jakarta on schedule, the Endeavour crew has to work day and night. As in the 18th century, The ship is run on a 3-watch system. That's 4 hours on actual sailing duty and 8 hours off.
The watches were divided into 3 watches: foremast watch, mainmast watch, and mizzenmast watch. The foremast watch and the mainmast watch had the heavy lifters, a lot of young, strong men who could do probably what was going to be thought of at the time as the heavy lifting. You might be on the 4 to 8 watch one week. The next week you would be on the 8 to noon watch, and then the next week after that, noon to 4. And you stood 8-hour watches divided into 2 4-hour watches each day.
People are awakened for duty by their watch leader, and right now, Christian is waking those on his watch. But because tonight the wind is light, he is going to split the watch, each half doing just 2 hours, so at least some are going to get some extra sleep.
Cup of tea first thing in the morning.
You don't like this one, Mickey?
No, because you start 4 o'clock in the morning, you finish at 8 o'clock at night, so it's a long day. It's horrible. 16-hour day. Right, can we watch?
One of the most satisfying moments I can remember is sitting on stern watch, you know, in the early evening, watching the stars come out and just feeling really peaceful and not having any worries. And I remember consciously thinking, if I ever need to think of a spot where I've been so happy, this is the moment I would think of right now.
For many aboard Endeavour, breakfast is the one bright spot in an otherwise dreary diet.
Doogie, it's time for us to eat. We're hungry. I can't work without my porridge.
Morning, Tom.
Morning, Caroline.
How are you?
I'm raring to go.
You look like you are, Dan. You really look like you are. There you go, darling. You're welcome.
Hot porridge in the tropics makes you sweat, but it does fill the belly. And most of the crew are eating 5 or 6 bowls at one sitting. Mixed with sugar and cocoa, it provides needed energy, and it's still a long way to Jakarta.
Yeah, let's go. Hold it Hold your mizzen topsail. Phil, taken into gallant sheet, port side. Jenny, Jenny, you take the other clue, please, from Phil.
Suddenly, strange streaks of a yellowy-brown substance appear in the sea, stretching for miles. The first impression is that it's some sort of pollution, perhaps an oil slick.
We were alarmed to see layers of a brownish colour extending themselves upon the sea. Some a mile or more long, swimming immediately upon the surface of the water or not many inches under it.
Actually, there's a really good patch going past right now, so see if I can get some in our washing up bucket here. Banks managed to get some. I think he went out in a boat and got some, and he never really did conclude what they were.
Tom, the botanist on board, is excited about the unexpected link with the original Endeavour and its botanist, Joseph Banks. Banks collected 1,400 plant species on the voyage that were completely unknown to science. They would help make his reputation as Britain's foremost botanist. But even out in the wide open sea, he never stopped collecting and analyzing.
To which of the 3 kingdoms of nature this substance belongs, I am totally ignorant. The seamen are now convinced that it is not, as they thought, the spawn of fish. They have begun to call it sea sawdust, a name not ill-adapted to its appearance.
We know it's an algae. It does shine up like sawdust when the sun shines on it. Yeah, this is definitely, it's it's like as though my fingers are together like that. It's like lots of tubes. And so it's a plant, it's definitely a plant. And it's an algae, and the proper name for it is Trichodesmium scorpioides is the proper name, but everyone calls it Banks's sawdust now. Apparently it's a sign of good weather. It means you're going to get good weather if you see it. Banks never missed an opportunity, whatever he was doing, wherever he was, right through his life. You know, any tiny sort of phenomena, anything that he didn't understand, he always wanted to find out. And if you think they were on their way home now, as far as they were concerned, they were feeling, you know, homesick. They just wanted to get back, but still Banks every single day was out there trying to figure out what was out there. He was ever inquisitive. He just wanted to know how everything lived, how it worked.
Indeed, I have pretty constant employment for my mind, which I believe to be the best, if not the only remedy for the disease of nostalgia.
Starboard clew home, take out the slack and belay. Okay.
This endeavor, too, tries to stay busy.
Come on, haul away.
Today, everyone is preparing for an old Royal Navy tradition designed to raise spirits and keep men sharp during a long voyage. It's called the line race, and it involves learning the names of all 140 ropes on board.
Pulley block system, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
So if you're lower in the truss, yeah, and it's not playing the game, you just...
But there is a twist.
Usually, every time it happens, we have to get the band-aids out or the plasters or plaster casts.
Oh, it's pretty competitive.
It's very competitive.
Yeah, so you close that one.
Claire, the doctor, is preparing for the worst.
What stitch would you use for the deep sutures?
Absorbable.
There's a good chance of injury, and she'll need backup.
The reason I'm sewing up pork is because I'm normally the ship's medical officer, and while Claire's on this voyage, she's giving me some very needed and welcome instruction, and I'm learning suturing now. Something that I need quite a lot on the ship because most of the riggers, about the only thing they use their knives for is to cut themselves with. It's not true. It's true.
Okay, guys, the line race. You've all been studying it hard, I hope. Biting, kicking, scratching is all allowed. Okay?
The watchers all want to win, so we don't usually get away with, you know, a couple of concussions, mop the blood off the deck.
We have all your guys number one.
Contestants from each of the 3 watch teams race to be the first to touch the line named.
Oh man, I have to compete with you.
Starboard side, main course tack. Go.
Mario, go back.
Half of the main, or the foremast. All right, fist fight.
Main staysail halyard.
Walk around like that.
Main course bowling. Main topsail rolling tackles. Sprint topsail lift. Port side.
Look, John, land.
4-course sheet.
Okay, hang on, Ivan. Take a seat, Ivan. Carol, can you have a look at Ivan's book, please?
I believe that might be mine. Close, it's got to be my first stitch, surely.
And mainmast way out there in the lead with 44 points.
Well done.
It's actually a massage table, so if you're really lucky,
Get John down to do
You'll get the other side done.
you can get the other side done. So a rough clean.
Yeah. Make sure that you've got gloves and stuff to hand.
I will put them straight.
And that your local anaesthetic is all ready to rock.
We're going to do that first up, are we?
Yeah.
Ivan's injury relieves him of watch duties. But for the rest of the crew, it's time for the dreaded captain's rounds, a Royal Navy institution. The captain inspects every nook and cranny of the ship for dirt, and usually finds it.
Bunch of shit and corruption down here. Bunch of rubbish down here.
Pull back, just check you're not in a blood vessel. Pull back first, that's good, and now inject.
You're right there, Ivan.
You're right, Angel.
You're doing really well.
I know it's still a poppet, I'm sorry. Okay, here we go, sweetie. Another sharp stab. Is it beginning to numb up?
Not yet.
Jesus Christ, look at this lot. What's all this? On the steps. Okay, people troop up and down, just chuck them out. Underneath too. It's even worse underneath. Drive up!
I've got to say, this is my first live stitching job, and it's in a really awkward place. So, cheers, Ivan.
It's all right.
If I can do this, I should be able to do anything.
Who cleaned under here? Nobody. Underneath here, Trevor. Look at this lot. Jesus H. Christ. What's all that? We're eating in here, guys. It's up to you to make sure it's beautiful.
So what would have done in the 18th century without gauze, without the...
They'd have just packed it.
Packed it and fastened the toes together.
Actually, they would have probably poured something horrible like pitch into it or something awful, wouldn't they, Claire?
I would have thought so, yeah.
Yeah, and just then your foot would have got gangrenous and dropped off.
They must have been relatively successful by using the hot pitch because, you know, certainly what I've heard of Cook's voyage, they didn't have people losing bits of themselves and major problems with infection, and they must have knocked loads of pieces off each other.
Okay, they need to be cleaned out a lot better than that.
Might go 2 bites together because it's so
you'll get
close
this
together.
together. That's good.
Now, what about the other
Can
side?
I just pull that one tight for you? Sorry, sweetie.
Sorry, darling. Oh yeah, I can see where that knot's not.
Okay, guys, I'm not just trying to be a pain in the ass. Just trying to get the place clean, all right? There's a lot of people living here. We're all eating. We're all sleeping. Hygiene is very important. So this is one of the most important places on the ship. Table scrub, all the bits, all the crap in the corners slowly comes up. But it ain't good enough.
If that's your first time...
First time on a human, a live human.
Human, I'm not too sure about that.
Dead pig? I'm good at.
It's not very often you have to do the inside stitches. Normally you just do the outside. But the inside went in nicely. The outside looks great. It'll live to fight another day.
As Endeavour nears the end of her voyage, Caroline is planning a special dinner. This is not good news for the chickens.
Given the order for the execution. I feel a bit bad about that, but it had to happen. The boys are up, seeing to the chickens now, and I'm lighting the fire. So by the time the fire's hot, the chickens should be ready for the pot.
Because a few people might get upset, we've got to just sort of do it in the morning without too many people knowing about it.
They say to the chickens. What are they doing? Getting rid of the chickens?
I did tell people that, you know, sometime next week you're going to wake up and the chickens won't be there in their coop. So people were sort of prepared, but didn't really know when or how. People aren't inured to that sort of thing anymore. Death doesn't happen in the home.
Slight mixed emotions about the chickens. I was vegetarian until I came on the ship. I'd not eaten meat or fish for 8 years, but I've eaten quite a lot of meat on board, and I know that I'll eat the chickens, so it made me feel quite sick. and I really, really, really disliked it. I can't say too much because I know I'll tuck into them for dinner.
They're old friends. I couldn't see them die. I did actually kill some chickens once, and I felt disgusted with myself. So I didn't really want to be around when they got their quietus. I'll eat them though.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I have listened to 2.5 radio stations today. BBC, Australian News, and a very garbled Voice of America, because we can't get it in this part of the world. There are 1 or 2 demonstrations around the world, obviously, it's bound to happen. And one of the repercussions is that we have been advised that it may not be prudent to go to Jakarta. So we will be going to another place, which at the present time is politically safe. There is a different ambience of that area. Nobody will like it very much. It's a terrible place called Bali.
For 6 weeks, Endeavour has been following Cook's route as faithfully as possible. Now, fate, not history, has determined her ultimate destination.
Bali, eh? Yeah, this morning I was talking about frustration. Gone. Bali.
Two days from Bali, from the end of the voyage, JB is ready to conquer his fear.
Over on the Thompson one, over on the Tagalog.
His first obstacle is the futtocks, a nasty overhang up to what is called the fighting top.
Heading up the upper shrouds now.
The footholds and handholds get fewer and narrower here, and the wind takes more of a hold. JB is faltering. He's becoming more aware of the roll of the ship and the sway of the mast.
He's not moving much.
Has he got his foot in that foot rug?
Is he hooked on anywhere?
Topmast shrouds, and then he's going to go up the cabin shrouds. He's got to shimmy up those cabin shrouds, hasn't he? Well, JB! Oh, really?
JB is approaching the top of the mainmast, 130 feet above the deck. There are no footholds here, only vertical ropes to pull up on. JB makes one last supreme effort.
JB, go on, mate. You're nearly there. One more step and you're there. You're there.
Fantastic. Hey, man. Hey, you're on top of the world. Fantastic.
Yay!
You and I have been discussing this for 6 weeks. So at some point, I had to get up here before returning back to the States. Woke up this morning, decided, today was the day to make it happen. So at least I'll be able to enjoy it for the next couple of days before we arrive in Bali. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate the support of everyone down below on the deck. That's fantastic.
JB has become a topman, albeit a reluctant one. His mates celebrate by firing a cannon, loaded with a real cannonball.
Respect.
Hey, stand by for cannon! Fire in the hole!
Every day had something in it that was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. For example, I remember well into the trip being on watch at 3 or 4 in the morning on bow watch, leaning over the side of the ship and seeing the phosphorescence in the water as we sailed through the water. Just so thick they looked like stars in the sky. I remember one night we were standing there and a falling star fell so close to the ship that we could see its reflection on the water. And it was almost like I turned to my partner and I said, "Did you see that? Because I want to make sure you did." It was so unexpected.
This is the result of our chicken farming. Here's a special dinner. It's our last supper tonight. We've got coq au vin. Nice chicken. By golly, she good. You've got no qualms about eating Sophie Lucy?
Not at all. It's good. We don't know if anything in our whole lives, maybe exaggerating a bit, has ever tasted this good. We're just speechless. We're literally sitting here going, oh.
To a fantastic voyage.
To a fantastic voyage.
Cheers. Here, here. Good friends.
Cheers.
3 cheers for Carol!
With the wind strong, Endeavour is just days away from Bali. For weeks, the crew members have lived in their own world and learned both the pleasures and hardships of isolation. They now return with very mixed feelings to a different world than the one they left behind.
This huge international crisis has made more clear to me what distinctions Cook was drawing between the world outside, the world that he refers to as the world, and I think he opted for this world of the ship as being much more understandable and much more reliable. Now, I used to sympathize with Cook, but now I actually feel anti-Cook. I imagine myself as an ordinary AB, you know, an ordinary seaman, and what would I think? I mean, as Cook, you know, decides to spend another couple of months exploring the Australian coast, I think, well, you know, is this in my interest? You know, Cook is the one who's going to get the gloire from it, not me, you know.
For me, at this time, to quit the southern Pacific Ocean with a good ship expressly sent out on discoveries would be to betray not only a want of perseverance, but judgment.
That's land, isn't it? Can you see it?
Could be. What can you see?
Land.
Cloud cover.
Look, you can just see... No. I'm not going to be mistaken. That you can see land. Look.
To the port.
Yeah, definitely land.
Is that Bali?
Yeah, it must be Bali.
With Bali on the horizon, it seems incredible that just 6 weeks ago the volunteers boarded the ship for the first time.
There it is.
That's you.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing. See the ship? In a way, I feel really, really sad. Like, this is the existence that I've come to know and you know, live the past 6 weeks. Like, this is my home. You know, all of these people are, you know, the people I live with and work with. It's definitely like the end of an era. I had lived so simply during that time frame. Just a couple of items of clothes, a few toiletries, some books, you know, no email, no TV, and was so happy.
It was just one of those days. Both lines went off and we got a big Spanish mackerel and a big barracuda. Just like that. It was just everything, you know, that's how it goes. You know, you have these beautiful moments and it all happens at once. And that's what makes them beautiful.
You get down to the very simple pleasures of life, like eating a sweet orange, you know, and you stop and you savor the orange. And I mean, that's an element that, you know, about getting back to basics, it's going to give everybody a bit of an appreciation for what, you know, some of the smaller things in life. And with any luck, I'll carry that back to the wonderful city of Los Angeles. Oh, he's crawling around. And be able to keep that in mind when I'm, you know, planning to kill somebody for cutting me off in traffic.
I realize that I take things sometimes much too seriously, and I've tried to be more understanding, both with my family and friends, not get as upset, not be such a type A personality. Let the way.
8 problems!
Yeah, it's strange that the last 5 weeks, everyone seems to come together. We're working together. We're a complete bunch of strangers when we all met in Cairns. Seems that long ago. I can't remember a time when I wasn't on this ship. I've made friends here from all over the world. We're not strangers anymore. We're all friends. We're all shipmates. We all belong to the crew of the Endeavour.
234 years ago, the original crew of the Endeavour approached Indonesia, not Bali, but Batavia, today's Jakarta.
We arrived at Batavia all in good health and high spirits, thinking all our hardships at an end. But Providence thought proper to order it otherwise. We contracted sicknesses which in Batavia, and thence on our passage to the Cape of Good Hope, carried away 30 of my people who died of the bloody flux.
For Cook and his men, land proved more dangerous than life at sea. The modern Endeavour fared much better, losing just 3 crew members, Shane, Ian, and Andrew, to injury or disease. But modern medicine and transportation, something Cook could never have imagined, may have saved their lives. The 21st century crew steps ashore to a different world, different from Cook's and different from the one they left just 6 weeks before. And while it's not without dangers, it is familiar, comfortable, and air-conditioned. This crew, this family of former strangers, is heading home to their own families. On his way home, Cook was to lose over 1/3 of his crew before he got back to England some 6 months later.
In justice to the officers and the whole crew, I must say they have gone through the fatigues and dangers of the whole voyage with that cheerfulness and alertness that will always do honor to British seamen.
He had been away 3 years, charting new seas, discovering new lands, and making scientific discoveries on one of the greatest voyages of exploration ever undertaken.